test them again?
You need us to test it, Umberto? Probably not, right? You got sounds? Testing, testing.
Okay, at this time we'll reopen our city council meeting. Just came out of closed session. And we do have two items to report. The first one, council voted 3-0 to authorize city manager to sign the waiver and also for joint representation for item 4A and B with to represent jointly the city of Avenal with sign a waiver with RMA risk management. And the second one was to authorize city manager to open a claim with IMA for legal representation for item 4B. Thank you. With that, we're going to the next agenda item, which is item number 5, which is public comment. And Angie, would you please read the statement?
Sure. Any person may directly address the council agency at this time on any items of the agenda or any other items interest of the public that is within matter jurisdiction of the city council successor agency. State law prohibits any member of the city council from commenting or acting on matters not on the agenda. 3 minutes are allowed per person.
Thank you.
And just so we let the public know, we are offering interpretation services. If you're on Zoom, you just have to enable it. From the bottom, you see a little globe, and you hit that and choose either English or Spanish. And if you're on Facebook, the Avenal Community Activities page is streaming in Spanish. The Avenal Theater and Event Center is streaming in English. And that is awesome. Sorry.
So this time we'll open public comment. Do you have any public comments?
You can go ahead, Chief. I know Chief has one public comment.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to give you a quick COVID-19 update from my perspective here. To date, we have 449 cases in Avenal so far since the pandemic started back in March. I believe when I spoke to you 3 weeks ago, we were at 432. So we've seen a little bit of an increase, but nothing too alarming. What was alarming on my Monday call was the hospitalizations were up from 11 from the previous Monday to near 20 a couple of days ago. So that is a concerning number. The health department still recommends that people get tested at these mobile testing sites as much as they can in order to increase our negativity numbers, which is going to help keep us in the current tier of orange. There's some talk that we could get rolled back to the more restrictive tier. I know the governor did quite a bit of rolling back this week to other counties, but because of our testing numbers, our positivity rate number gets adjusted for that. So I know the holidays coming up, there's a lot of people want to get together and things like that, but the governor's going to come out with some guidance regarding that shortly. And I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, but he still hasn't come up with it yet. We've had about 500, probably a little over 500 people get tested at the mobile testing site in Avenal at the Avenal High School since September 22nd. So that's a pretty good number for us. And so I'm really happy with that. And it's about all I have for this week. I know next week will be Monday's conference call will be probably very informative, and I'll certainly get out that information to the city manager who could disseminate it to you folks. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for your comments. Do you have any other public comments?
I have one more if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, go ahead.
Just to everybody up to speed, the police department suffered a system power loss, for lack of a better word, this week, Monday. Required some late night electrical work by a contractor last night, as well as we were running on generator power for several days. But the point I wanted to make was I want to commend Scott Davis, Rob Williams, and his crew for just never settling on us running on generator power and always trying to find a solution to the problem, which they did. So my heart goes out to Scott and his crew for the work that they did to keep us up and running, and just wanted you folks to know that as well. Thank you.
Humberto, do we have any public comments on social media?
Checking the chat as well. The only one was everyone can speak up.
Seeing none, we will close public comment. We'll go over to item number 6, which is the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are routine and enacted by one motion and action. So we'll be looking at item 6A, 6B, and 6C at the same time.
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
First and a second. Angie, roll call, please.
Councilmember Carrizales? Aye. Councilman Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez?
Aye.
Mayor Preciado?
Aye. Show it pass for all. Thank you. Now we'll go into item number 7, which is mayor and council member and successor agency items for consideration. 7A is to consider an agreement to a special board, which is Kings County, CARD, and KCAPTA, which is Kings County Association of Governments, and Kings County Action Organization, KCAO, and also Kings County Commission on Aging. So I believe
I have a staff report.
we're gonna have a discussion.
Right.
Do you
So
have- Do you have a open up the discussion?
thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. So this item, I know seems like a mouthful, but it is appointments to the special boards throughout the county. Them being the County Area Public Transit Agency, KCAPTA, the Kings County Association of Governments, KCAG, Kings County Action Organization, KCAO, and the Kings County Commission on Aging Council. I should have added one more that we found out about yesterday, which would have been the Kings County Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority. I didn't get a chance to add it to the agenda, but we'll consider it for the next item. So these are all special boards that the council has previously been a part of or involved with because of the recent changes that we've had in council and staff. There are vacancies in all these boards. The first one being KCAPTA, and both KCAPTA and KCAG kind of go hand in hand because they meet on the same day and one meets after the other. The KCAPTA, they deal with the CART, the schedules, the fees. KCAG deals more primarily with the transportation of road money. And then for the next meeting, I will bring back the Kings County Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority, which happens to meet quarterly after the KCAG meeting. So if you haven't, I would recommend whoever gets on the KCAPTA and KCAG would possibly also be the one on the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority, and that would probably be the same person. It would just make it easier. The one thing of note for this one is that Mayor Preciado is currently the alternate for the KCAG Commission. So you could appoint to have him as the main one or keep him as the alternate. The other special board would be KCAO, which actually was a position held by appointed to Melissa Whitten, the former city manager. I spoke at length with Jeff Gardner about that position. The appointment would represent the public sector and would be a term for 4 years, and they would serve on 2 subcommittees. I think because of the time of year, I don't think there'd be any meetings they would have to attend this year, but next year for sure. And they would also be appointed to the subcommittees. They would also get a board orientation. That one meets every third Wednesday at 4:30. Third Wednesday of each month. Yeah, at KCAO office in Hanford. And one thing of note, all these boards are currently meeting virtually. So, then the last one that is on the list was for the Kings County Commission on Aging Council. We've actually had this vacancy for over a year. This position was formerly held by Arlene Santino, who passed away January of last year. I didn't get much more details about the meeting dates, but I know that they would deal with the food distribution and the activities that happen at Veterans Hall, and I'm sure at the other locations throughout Kings County. What we're asking is by motion, can be either council, some of these do have to be council members, but if you want to appoint someone from the community as well to these special boards. I know that's a lot.
And there, I should add that with the addition of a new council member after election results are certified, you may have an opportunity to
Further
have
fill.
someone. Yeah.
So, how you guys feel about appointing any volunteers or somebody who would like to serve in a specific board?
You said KCAP and KCAP go together or can
They
you-
kind of, the one meets right after the other. So
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, a councilwoman Woolley would say her K meetings, because she'd go to one and then she'd go to the next one and she'd report out on activities from both.
Mhm.
And these are attended by council members and the board of supervisors from the rest of the county.
Mhm.
And then will be the third one for the abandoned vehicles.
Yeah, we would appoint them at I didn't get to add it to this agenda and I apologize. We didn't find out till Tuesday.
But that one will be on the same day and around the same time.
Every quarter, so maybe 4 times a year. I'm not sure how often they actually meet.
But I believe will be also on a Wednesday right after. between
Right
the
after
meetings.
KCAG, so 5:30 onward.
Mhm. Nobody volunteer.
You guys want to table that one?
Go after the election results.
It's up to the council. It was on Melissa's radar and I had been adding to the list and thought it would be a good time just to present it.
Is there a meeting coming up on any of these?
There have been meetings that council has missed, but nothing that's been pressing at this time.
I would like to volunteer for the Kings County Commission of Aging for that one.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to appoint council member Pablo Hernandez to the Commission on Aging Board. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Councilwoman Carrizales. Thank you, roll call. Roll call.
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Martin Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye.
No other action on the other boards.
Well, if nobody wants to take that one, I'm the alternate, so if I take the primary position, then we'll probably,
Need an alternate
we'll need an alternate
for KCAG.
for all three. Mhm. So, will volunteer for that one, and if somebody else would like to volunteer for the alternate position.
Alternative would be in case you wouldn't make it, and but no, volunteer as alternative.
So we have a motion on the floor to appoint Mayor Pizarro to the primary position and Mayor Pro Tem Alex Ramirez to the alternate position.
And that would be your motion, Mr. Pizarro?
Mm.
I will second it.
Councilmember Carrizales?
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez?
Aye.
Mayor Preciado?
Aye. Oh, and we have one more.
What do you think? You can.
Will you consider also being, since I believe Melissa was part of it, I think it was an opportunity.
If the council so wishes, I will be gladly, on the PCO board. I know a lot of people assume so, but it is, Melissa was apparently a special case. Melissa was apparently a special case on the KCAO board, as she was the first city manager to serve on it. But now I believe Lee Moore's Nate Olson also serves on the KCAO board. So I'd be more than happy to if the council so wishes.
It's mostly elected.
Yeah, it's mostly elected, but Melissa was a special case from 20 years ago, where they happened to appoint her and continued reappointing her.
I think we should move that direction, possibly.
Okay.
We will make a motion then to appoint city manager Anthony to the KCO board. Trustees. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Councilmember Carrizales?
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez?
Aye.
Mayor Preciado?
Aye. Motion passed for all.
All right. So nothing. So the only one left would be CART or K-CAPTA, I mean.
When that one is, that one's still the same day.
It is the same day, but so are you appointing the same person though? Okay, so you would be the same for both K-CAPTA and KCAG?
Mhm.
All right, was that made clear? Okay, as long as that was in the motion. Okay, sorry. Okay, then that means we filled those and we'll bring back the abatement vehicles one.
Okay.
And thank you for that appointment.
So with that, we'll go over to item 7B, which is to consider recommending appointment. No, we did that one already. We'll do
Now,
B.
there's a second appointments. So the consider appointments to the to the City of Avenal Operating Authority Board. That's the next
That's
item.
number C, 7C. So to consider. No,
Yeah, there's a second item for consideration of appointments.
Mhm.
So that one, okay, sorry.
Mhm.
So I'll take it. So as the council is aware, the city participates or is part of a joint powers authority with the Avenal Hospital District, which forms the City of Avenal Operating Authority. I don't have all the information. This is why it says consider recommending appointments, because I believe these appointments that have been vacated by both Melissa and then Don Perkins, who are the former administrator, plan manager, and also treasurer, respectively. I believe the board needs to appoint those, but as the city is a member, I believe we are able to at least make a motion to recommend who to appoint. Angie, if you can clarify who's on the board for the operating authority?
Yes, the members that are on the operating authority was Mrs. Susie Chastain and Blaine Sanders, but he recently resigned. And right now, the one that is on the board is Miss Susie Chastain and Lou Grillo. And Mr. Preciado from the council.
And that's my confusion of who's actually representing the city on that board,
Mm.
right? Because if you're the alternate, but Lou technically wasn't on council anymore, so that's my confusion. Melissa explained to me that the board is the one to make those appointments, but I believe it would help if just the council says this is who we recommend appointing to. Naturally, the treasurer is whoever is the director of finance for the city. Currently, we do not have one. That's why asking also to support having Griselda Price as the treasurer, and she's kind of acting right now.
Okay.
So just to clarify all that, I know
Mhm.
it's a council motion and action, but I think it would just help to signal to the operating authority.
And is she willing to take that position?
Yeah, she
to
is.
represent?
Mhm.
Okay. So I will make a motion to appoint Gigi to the
Recommend appointment.
recommend.
Yeah, just to be safe.
Okay.
So go ahead.
To the hospital board of trustees.
The City of Avenal Operating Authority. So this is the joint powers that we
Joint
have
powers.
between the hospital and the city.
Mhm.
The hospital still is its own entity, which also has another board. I know it gets a little confusing.
Mhm. So it is the joint powers authority.
Yes,
Recommending Gigi to be for.
treasurer, and then
Mhm.
myself as the
Yes, sir.
administrator slash plan manager.
Mhm. Are those the only two vacancies right now? No.
Yeah. There are vacancies on the board, I think, as well. And I need to investigate it further.
Mhm.
But I know that there has to be a meeting at some point soon. So we're gonna try to figure all that out. Because I know even in the hospital district, they were supposed to have elections, which they
Mhm.
haven't had elections.
Oh.
Yes. So some things to still kind of weed through.
Mhm.
Did you pull the joint powers agreement?
Yes.
And it doesn't talk about board composition or nothing?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
And I have, that's why I know it says that the treasurer will be whoever is the finance director for the city. The admin slash plan manager will be appointed by the board. And I know we have some vacancies, so that's why we need to figure all that out naturally.
Mhm.
So,
So right now we're making a recommendation, but also we need to make a motion and second in order to.
Mhm. it would help.
So, I make a motion to recommend Gigi to be part of the Joint Powers Authority. And, make a motion and, you have a second motion.
I'll second.
So first and a second. Angie roll call, second by, Paulo Hernandez.
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. So Madam Chair, pass for all.
I don't know if you also want to add me to the list.
And then we have also, City Manager Anthony, also
Admin.
recommending him to be in the administrative side.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we move over to 7C, which is to consider adoption of language access policy in order to offer interpretation services during public meetings. Discussion, direction, and action.
Right. So I'll start off on this. Thank you, Mayor. Following up from our previous regular meeting regarding interpretation services and offering them for public meetings. As I've done more investigation, what I've found is that cities offer or have started adopting a language access policy, which I believe I had a typo on the written packet. The language access policy to kind of outline what the city will do in terms of interpretation and translation of documents, some of which the city already does. We already tried translating our agendas. A lot of our information, our bills, we do try to offer some items in Spanish. So I didn't see a problem in recommending to the council to maybe adopt a language access policy. I know to the heart of the issue, if you look at Exhibit A, was regarding how to handle interpretations for our public meetings. And if you go to the second page of this, where it says public meetings and hearings, as I've said, we would be posting and or translating our agendas as they are now. And we would make it a policy to accommodate for interpretation if we get at least a 30-hour in advance request. This would be so middle of the day, the previous noon of the previous day, um, to interpret or translate any given material. Um, and obviously, we would prioritize interpretation from English to Spanish. And this would also leave it open to not necessarily always have to hire a professional interpreter, but maybe either utilizing city staff. If city staff is unavailable or unable to, then we would look for a third party who could help accommodate for the interpretation. I was trying to fit everything that I've heard from council, what they were looking for in such a policy. And I know we've had requests for the council to adopt such policy. This goes a little above and beyond than just the meetings, but it also holds the city and staff accountable to make an honest effort at translating items, but it does in no way, shape, or form makes us culpable in case we aren't unable to maybe translate or interpret something on the fly. But I'd like to hear the council's thoughts. I know this is the first time you're seeing this. I'm open to modifying it as needed.
Did everybody had a chance to go through it and read it? And if there any comments or additions to it?
So under this policy, would just anybody going to City Hall and request translation be provided, that that would pretty much take care of it, right?
And we, to be quite honest, we already do that. Any members of the public who come or call, we accommodate as best possible. And this is also noting that there needs to be at least more than a 5% of the community that speaks the said language, because I know other policies I saw mention American Sign Language or other languages. So we try to accommodate to the primary other language spoken.
Okay.
And just also to clarify that even nobody requests translation during the meeting, but there is a need for it, the city will provide translation.
Right. I think it did actually add.
And this includes town hall meetings and any city events.
One second, because I know I wrote this here about emergency meetings or about when adopting a local emergency.
Can I add something, Mr. Mayor, when our city manager's done?
Go ahead. Sure. Go ahead.
One thing that I would recommend adding in there is something which says that the translations are provided as a courtesy, and the English language version is going to be controlling if there's a dispute between the English or any other translated copy. That way we can rely on one, and people who get a translation, they'll see that in their own language, and they say, well, if there's a question, this is a gray area. Let me get somebody's opinion who reads English to tell me what, make sure I'm interpreting this right. And it kind of saves us if there is kind of a problem with the translation.
Legal matters.
Yeah, if Moses would add, let me know what to exactly put in. We can, I think that'd be fair to add. So yeah, on the public meetings and hearings, item D, priority shall we place to offer oral interpretation from English to Spanish for special public hearings of community concern or when a local emergency is first declared and enacted. I thought those were important for the community to have those offered and with an interpretation. And then obviously any other times upon request.
So I believe I'm also recommending that we add it. Our
That's
legal
good.
attorney is recommending.
I agree.
make a motion to.
So there is a resolution I included, and I've also included that this would be amended or changed as needed. So if you'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution, but also adding those specific changes as recommended by the city attorney, and we could start putting this into effect.
I so move to accept it and amend it with that extra prerogatives as we just read it. So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
First and second. Angie, roll call, please.
Councilman Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. Pass roll. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
So now we'll go to item 7D, which is to consider selection of a future site for a community garden under per capita grant program. Discussion and direction.
All right, thank you. So as the council might be aware, the city, under the Parks and Water Bond Act of 2018, is eligible for $177,952 for local park rehabilitation, creation, and improvement here in the city of Avenal. This item specifically is asking the council to give direction regarding use of these funds. So the funds are available, but we need to submit requests of what we would use these funds for. As some might be aware, back in 2019, when we were working on the statewide parks program, where we received funding for the new park behind the boxing club, there was quite a bit of community members who were asking for a community garden, and we found out that we'd be receiving these additional funds. So we thought it would be better to use those funds from the per capita grant program for a community garden, since it would be a lower expenditure, and commit the statewide park program towards the larger projects of an entire park. Those funds are available. Fernando and I have attended workshops that were required to be able to apply and request those funds. Now we're at the point where we should think about what we're going to be requesting those funds for. I know one of the primary items, and again, because the community has brought this up a few times, is a community garden. So before you, I presented some city locations that could possibly work for a community garden. As you'll see, we have the skate park. Let's see, did I bring it down? There's a skate park, then followed by the parcel here on King Street. Don't know if that would be perfect, but I just wanted to let the council know what properties the city owns that are currently kind of vacant. Police department does have space behind it, and if anything, I might recommend in the future we put grass in the front lawn. That would be nice. We have it in the walkway, but not through the rest of it where we planted trees. Yeah, so the walkway area and where there's a little pavilion do, but the rest of the front yard does not. And then we do own two parcels on 7th and 33. Excuse me. And followed by, of course, the property where we are building the community center, which could further be used as expansion for the community center. But again, I just wanted to lay out all the available properties. And I believe our community development director would like to say a few words. Randy, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I just wanted to, I know it wasn't a big part of the discussion before this item was presented to the council, but you may recall last year or the year before when these funds were originally going to be made available by the state, We were expecting to receive $200,000 from the state, and it turns out we were going to be receiving significantly less than that, about 177,000, as Anthony mentioned. Originally, we were going to split the funds, 100,000 for the community garden and 100,000 for the community center. And so, with us having received less than the $200,000, I still wanted to put it out there that we would still be looking to try to use at least half, if not more, of those funds for the community center for some of the improvements that still need to be made out there, like sewer and electrical and mechanical at the building. But I think certainly, 100,000 or 77,000 for the community garden is certainly going to cover most, if not all, of the expenses for any site that the city council chooses. Thank you.
Right, and part of this discussion and direction would also be just to help us know what, if any site would be viable and what we would maybe think we would spend, and then that way we would know what else would be left over and available, either for the community center or other possible projects. So
There's not an estimate how much it would cost to construct the
community garden.
community garden?
There is not an estimate. I do know if we were able to pick a site, we might be able to get some assistance from Adventist Health, where they've sponsored quite a few community gardens in Hanford and I believe Armona as well, and they've expressed interest here, but we haven't been able to provide them with the location. And again, I know a lot of the community members even offer to help out on their own to make this a reality. The big thing, as I've mentioned, is the location. So that's why we'd like to start off discussion and direction.
At this time, I would like to recommend using the property next to State Park as a community garden and using the per capita fund.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I think that would be a good property too because it has more exposure than the others. It is more central on the community.
I would like to make a comment. In the past, there was also a lot of interest. I don't know if people remember, but they also wanted to bring back the ordinance where chickens were allowed to be in the city of Avenal. So in those times, there were several sites also, and I think that it may come along later on, and then we'll probably, if it comes into fruition and people are interested and there's a need for it, this might be the time to find a place that can kind of serve
There's
the
a
two purposes.
public farm
Yeah,
or something.
and if that will be the case, probably the area by because at that time was discussed about having an area for people who may keep their chickens, because one of the concerns was it being at their own backyard or people's home, it may be a nuisance or maybe kind of some kind of odor or not well received, but maybe the neighbor or other people. So it was talk about the area over for the new
Community center.
close to the elementary. So this is just something that maybe we can also consider about finding a more suitable location where we can interact with the two. If that's something to think about that.
Absolutely. I mean, if that's again, this is not an action item, but if that's a direction council would like us to explore, and that way we say, hey, we're going to use the area by the skate park. We could do this. This is where it might cost. And if we're looking at some sort of public location for chickens, then we could also, giving us that direction, then we can start exploring those options and then more formally present something to you. And then we also know how much money we'd be playing around with.
I think I'm not familiar, and I think we probably need to look. I was informed there was a petition for a community garden some time ago. I'm not sure when, and it was over 1,000 people, 1,500 people that wanted it.
We have a copy of that because that was presented to council.
Yeah, something like that. It's, if the community is requesting it, then if it's an expensive, we should probably provide it, if it's 15,000, which probably I don't think so, because again, it's a garden, you're not gonna put
No.
concrete, you're not gonna put fencing, things like that.
And we would look for other, like I mentioned, other sources that could help
Yeah.
supplement that as well.
Yeah.
So, direction for sure on using the area by the skate park, and would council like us to also explore on a location for chickens possibly, or just the garden.
Possibly the garden only. Any other comments on the chickens?
I think if the need arises for chickens later on, we could probably try to accommodate a site for that too.
Okay. I mean, like I said, we can, if council would like us to explore it, we can just say, this is maybe an option. These are what other communities have done and cost associated. If council would like us to go that direction to explore. Again, this is not an action yet.
Yeah, I think we should move into the direction to explore and see what the best situation is. I would like to see, that the recreation department will be
With funding, of course.
But I think, it's overwhelming to the community.
No. Strictly speaking, I don't believe so either. And if that's the direction, and then if we need to formalize it even further to help get more funding elsewhere. But I think if there's an initial push, and maybe we could get myself to match, or at least supply all the material. I mean, whatever we would need to kind of make that site viable. That's what we're looking for. Okay.
Continue with
Understood. Thank you, council.
So we'll move over to item number 8. A, which is activity reports. We have number 1 is public works, code enforcement and animal control by Scott Davis, public works supervisor.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Before you have my report, and I owe an apology to our new city manager, Anthony Lopez, that I did not put his name on here as city manager. That will be corrected for next month.
No offense taken, Scott. You're perfectly fine.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Anyhow, our building department, we're continuing to work with Panda Koala. They're working on the 2 homes. They have completed the homes in the phase 2 of the Celinda Lido development, and they're still looking at initial plans for phase 3 and possibly phase 4. They are building the 2 homes on Ventura Street. Our South Corcoran Avenue development is progressing very well. They just completed the pressure test on the majority of the water lines today. That's moving along well. They're going to be working on the Kern Street easement, installing the water line down that within the next week or so. The clinic down on King Street is moving forward very well. The PG&E is working with them right now. They're trying to get power to that building. So that is a very positive note, because we've never had very rapid response from PG&E on our projects. And so it looks like they're going to have power within the next few weeks. And we just continue to work with Wildan for our plan checks and inspections on all our new building. Code enforcement's been busy with their weed abatements and vehicle abatements, continuing to work flex hours to ensure that our businesses are adhering to the mandate of face coverings. There's also 2 reports, one for September and one for October, since I neglected to put September's in last month. For parks and landscape, we just continue to try to maintain everything we have. And I believe we're going to be talking about our parks later on in this meeting. And then we're still keeping the 2 restrooms open at Rice Park. And like I said, we'll elaborate on the reopening of the parks later. Animal controls continue to do their great job. We had the annual animal clinic on October 28th in the high school parking lot. It was drive-through only. It was very successful. We did have some disappointed people in town because our veterinarian actually worked about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes longer than she had planned. It was scheduled from 5 to 7 and they worked till almost 8:45. And we're continuing to work with Corcoran and our animal rescue with all the safe distancing practices. The staff continues to maintain the streets. We're working with the contractor on the San Joaquin project. It's going well right now. They're working on the fire hydrant and service line replacements. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be starting the reconstruction of the road itself. Our water distribution, we continue to work with our engineer and self-help for the 18-inch transmission line. Funding agreements being done, and I think Fernando will probably elaborate on that later in the meeting. We did have one water leak on the 12-inch transmission line on the very last day of October. It was basically across 269 from the truck stop, and we're continuing to maintain our city distribution system. Our wastewater, we did have 3 calls for plugs on the city side and 1 on the customer side this month. That's a tremendous decrease from last month, and so things are looking a lot better with that. And we just continue to maintain our own city-owned property, vehicles, and equipment, and we continue to do our monthly and quarterly reporting. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Scott, I got one question. Are you guys picking up tumbleweeds around town right now?
We have not been called out to pick up tumbleweeds, no. We haven't had, this last windstorm, we did drive around. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of problem with tumbleweeds that we had noticed.
All right, thank you.
And just to quickly add, I know Rob Williams, our Public Works Director, they reach out to me and we're going to try to have a discussion over how to best tackle the tumbleweed situation once it becomes more of a problem. I know we'd like to be able to kind of manage them better, but also be able to organize and manage staff time as well, because we might not be able to always call out on every single day for every single tumbleweed. But maybe we're going to discuss it further, but maybe we can have a collective location, or pick one day out of the week where we focus on the tumbleweeds, and hopefully the community understands with the staffing that we have and everything, the resources, but we're gonna talk about that further and hopefully have a plan in place to best satisfy the community and still work within our means. So just to add on that.
Okay.
Well, and Anthony, I'd like to add to that I guess our consideration of not many tumbleweeds is considering that we spent days and a lot of truckloads picking tumbleweeds up in the spring when we had been inundated, especially on the west side of town. And so when there's just a couple of tumbleweeds in our consideration, and so maybe we need to change our attitude on what's a considerable amount of tumbleweeds.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Scott? Seeing none. Scott, I do have one question. So you mentioned working on San Joaquin Street, that empty lot on the corner of San Joaquin and Highway 33. You did mention, I saw a lot of work there. I thought there were underground utilities to that empty lot, but it's actually fire hydrants going on the sidewalk?
The empty lot at the very end, the triangle lot that's fenced in,
Yes.
there was only one fire hydrant down there on the end of that. And they're just that, Broff is how to pronounce that company's name. It looks like Bro to me, but anyway, Broff has rented that lot from the owner, and they're just using that for a staging area. And then there are no utilities, no services on that lot. So they're not putting anything on that. They're just using it for staging area.
Because I did saw several metal plates on the street. That's why I thought maybe they were working on underground utilities or something.
There is underground electrical that they tried to locate. If you go just east of that lot, there are 2 services there that actually feed 2 of the ones. I know one of them's a trailer house. I believe there might be 2 trailer houses, but everything that they have the steel plates over is an area where they will be doing a service.
Okay. Any other questions? No, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Report. We'll go to, we're going to item 8.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
which is,
So the department has been pretty busy for the last few months.
Sheila, hold on, Sheila.
okay, Sheila,
Contact Zoom and building queries. It's when we get down to the miscellaneous is where we're actually doing the work.
Sheila,
Everything else is just outreach.
Sheila.
Would you like me to go through every section or head down to the bottom?
Sheila, can you hear us? Sheila.
Yeah. Yes, Anthony.
Sorry, let Mayor move on to this item and then you can start. You kind of jumped the gun. Sorry.
Oh, I can't hear you guys.
so sorry. No, there was some straight noises, so we kind of stopped.
Yeah, we got some feedback, but go ahead.
So our next item will be Recreation Department Activity Report by Sheila Verdugo, Community Activities Supervisor. Go ahead, Sheila.
Oh, sorry, Mayor. I cannot hear. I couldn't hear, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. Okay, so the question was, do you guys want me to go ahead and go through each item, or go ahead and jump down to the miscellaneous kind of area where we actually have the work that's being done? Everything else is just up on the is what we're the outreach that we're doing. Do you guys want everything from top to bottom?
You can just summarize your report, and then if we have any question, we'll ask some questions.
Okay, so I'll go from September, October, November. Our contacts and outreach maintain, they're basically the same. So we deal with KCL, the public health, and that's to just kind of get all their information out of the testing sites and the food distributions. We also in September worked with the Kalinga Huron Parks Recreation Department, and they worked with us on getting jackets to give out to our community, which was 300. We also have been working with REACT, the health collaborative. They are actually wanting to get the support of city council to support them on getting tobacco-free parks and outdoor recreational areas. That will come at a later time. I want them to actually present to you as to what they're actually needing and what kind of support they're looking for from our city council and our city. Zoom meetings, we've been dealing with just still the KPFP, the REACT Health Collaborative, the UCCE, and that's for the senior programs and the senior classes, the things that they have, the resources that they have. Building inquiries, I mean, it's basically our West Hills College. They want to get their electrical course started back up. The KCAO, who wanted tax classes. The UFW, which wants to also provide their services. And then all of our karate, Fit to Succeed, Zumba, all of our active classes are just looking to try to get back to some kind of normalcy. Miscellaneous at the bottom of September, we went and helped with posting the census banners. We also went door to door, hanging door hangers for the census. We reached out to other recreation departments to see what they're doing with their buildings, if they had opened their buildings and facilities back up. Seeing if they did that, and I'm seeing where we were, if we were behind the time or if we're kind of right on task. We also worked with the Kings County Health Department to try to figure out the trunk or treat, how we were going to set up the trunk or treat and what was needed by the health department, if they had any kind of guidelines for us, which they did send over and we adhered to. We held a coach drive, the giveaway at the Veterans Hall, and those were the jackets, the 300 jackets that came from the Huron Parks and Recreation District. We reached out to parent groups for the Zoom meetings for the local park, the kids park down behind the boxing center. We reached out to local and county organizations with programs about participation in the virtual Day of the Family. We had our drive-in movie, and we assisted the CHP with another child safety, kind of like a drive-through. Contacts and outreach for October were basically the same. Zoom meetings, the only different one we had was I did an OpenGov webinar, and we also had a Zoom meeting with the Reef Sunset Unified School District Superintendent, Mr. Sanchez, which is really, really nice guy. I was impressed with him. I think we have some leadership there that's going to make a huge difference in our community. We also worked with a Zoom meeting with the Avenal families with children with special needs, and that was just to get their ideas and their thoughts on what type of equipment and what they would like to see in the new park that's going to go up behind the boxing club. The building inquiries remain the same. Virtual Day of the Family we had on October the 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. We had 25 participants, and they provided videos and information that their organizations, what resources and I'm so sorry, hon, I can't even read. Provided the community with their resources that they provide to our city. We held raffles, released videos at the top of each hour, and did live raffles so that people can kind of see what was going on. We still today are still getting a lot of activity on that page. So our goal is to continue to reach out to all resources that are being provided here in Avenal, whether or not they're coming from county or just local. It's really important that we have one place that people can go when they need food, when they need help with bills, that type of thing. We need to have this, and I think it's a good resource. It's just getting all the organizations to understand the importance of that. We also had our drive-through trunk or treat. We had 29 registered, but only 20 showed up. But it was a really, really cool day. We weren't sure how that was going to work, but it worked really well. We had over 400 kids. I don't know how many cars, but man, those cars were packed with kids. So, and the feedback from the community on that was they would love to see this next year as well. We had the drive-through animal clinic, which we participated in. We worked and helped set up and break down there. Number all the contact, Zoom, building inquiries, pretty much the same. We also did the community ofrenda table, Anna Sweet Moments, the Balderas family, and the community that came out and supported that table are all to be commended. They did a wonderful job, and I think it's a beautiful way to share culture. I don't think that we just have one culture here. I think we need to be mindful that we have so many different backgrounds. And I think if we can just kind of get a good idea of what we do have in the city, I think we could do little things like this throughout the year for all types. The drive-through Thanksgiving dinner, we are working on it now. So far, we have a couple of donors that's sending in checks to help support that. And the First Baptist Church is actually going to reimburse us. We will pay for all the turkeys, but then they will reimburse us for all of the turkeys for that day. We've worked with the St. Joseph Catholic Church as normal. It's Jeannie and Donna, Jeannie Tilton and Donna Curdy that kind of head that up for us. They find all the volunteers and they do all of the serving. It's going to be drive-through this year, so it's going to be a lot different. We're still trying to work with the school district as well.
We're muted too. We were muted.
Did I mute myself? Sorry.
There you go.
So, were there any questions?
Are there any questions for Sheila?
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I have no idea where I left off on.
Hey, Pablo has a question.
I got a question, Sheila.
I can't even hear.
Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead, Pablo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know the yearly turkey distribution that is done here in the city. Do you know have any information on that?
I reached out to Richard Valle, and he had said that he was going to get back to me. He did tell me that all the letters were going to be going to Luis, which is Jose's brother, and they would distribute those letters. I did ask him if the city was going to receive any of the letters, like in the past we have, and he wasn't sure. He said that his sponsorship was down, and he was waiting on one last sponsorship to see whether or not he was going to get additional money to buy more turkeys, and then he would get back to me as far as whether or not we were going to receive any letters to give out to the community as well. And we've definitely had phone calls, and I've had Facebook messages. Anna has as well, with people already. They know it's coming. They're used to being able to call the city hall and get the letter, or at least get put into contact with somebody. And so I'm really hoping that we maintain that partnership. I don't know where that is yet. He has not contacted me back as of today, but I will reach out again and see if he has any new news. Okay. Did you hear all that, Pablo? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he said thank you. Sorry, it's because we had to mute ourselves, but he said thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm muting.
I also have a question, Sheila.
Okay.
This is back in September for the
Mayor,
building. Yeah.
I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Okay, the
I'm so-
question goes back to September when you
Right.
had a building increase. For example, West Hills College, KCAU, all
Yes.
those. Are there any buildings being committed to them, or is there any plans or any works for that?
Would you like me to answer, Sheila?
For what? Yeah, go ahead, Anthony, because I'm barely hearing anything right now.
And the questions regarding our use of public facilities at this time.
Oh,
correct?
yes, we had the meeting. So go ahead, and if you want to.
We had a discussion either Monday or Tuesday where we've decided that we'll, on a case-by-case basis, allow the use of our public facilities for organizations that offer resources to the community. At this time, we are still going to continue not allowing any rentals because we feel that the risk is far too great and we don't have the staff or the manpower to kind of manage that situation. That's the gist of it. So part of those activities would be the Operation Gobble, the food, the meals that will be handed out during Thanksgiving. Obviously, no activity will happen inside no public will be in the building, but the activities and such will happen at Vets Hall to offer off those items. I've let KCAO know that they can continue doing their VITA tax program at Veterans Hall, and under the understanding they follow all the COVID regulations and rules and only have one customer at a time. So that's the direction we as staff decided to take. No other updates because although RMA has given us some guidelines and some guidance on how to do rentals, we don't feel we're kind of in that space yet. But we did feel that with the county moving up on the tiers, that we're able to at least allow these special organizations who we've always worked with previously to kind of host some of their programming in a different capacity, but still be able to use our facilities. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns on that. That I was going to update the council on that at the very end. But now's a good time.
Yeah, and now's a good time. Well, I think we do need to continue forward with the safety of social distancing, but I think that's the right direction at this time. Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, rather than a question, I just wanted to, say thank you for your commitment, Sheila. The particular trunk or treat, honestly, I think that the numbers that you guys hit on that event was there was probably like 400 cars and probably like 1,000 kids. It was, it was good to see. It was good to see.
I'm way low, ain't I? Very low.
Oh yes,
I can't count. I just know we kept giving out candy, and I was like, Lord, I don't know when it's going to stop, but it really was. And I really appreciate that you came out and supported that.
Yeah, no, it was great. That we should look for events like that. A lot of people come to the common interest. I think that was really great. Seeing that much people, especially during this time. So it was great.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, thank you, Sheila, for your report.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
And very quickly, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Mayor, I ask if we can move up the presentation by Chief Stivers. He's going to be handling something in a little bit, so he's asking if we can just move up his presentation right now.
That will be
Item 8A4.
884. Okay.
All right.
So we'll move now to item 84, Avenal Police Department Activity Report, Rusty Stivers, Chief of Police.
Hello again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for taking my matter before it was supposed to go. And thank you to Humberto as well. But I'm going to have to leave here and handle something very urgent out in town. So real quick, during the month of October, we investigated 2 fatal traffic collisions. Both victims were pedestrians. We're still working on those investigations. They're very time consuming due to the fatalities involved in those. One was about 269 north of the Avenal cutoff, and one was on Skyline and Union. So like I said, those are still under investigation at this point. You'll see in the picture there, and I don't know why I have a double entry there, so I apologize for that, but Officer Stride and Gunner made a traffic stop near Highway 33 and First Avenue, and they located 93 grams of methamphetamine, which is a significant amount of methamphetamine off the streets in our small city. So appreciative of Stride and Gunner for their traffic enforcement work, narcotic enforcement work. We did have a double stabbing in the 400 block of Skyline. Appears to be gang related, not getting a whole lot of cooperation at this point, but as I checked earlier this week, they're still working on the case. Both victims have survived and were transported to various hospitals. As you might know, I'd like to spend a couple moments on this case where Sergeant Rivera did a month-long sexual predator investigation. I think you heard Veronica Loya talk about that at the last meeting. And I think the community was very, very appreciative and supportive of our efforts, and it culminated in 4 arrests of people knowingly coming to meet a 14-year-old male or female. And we didn't hide anything. Everything was right up front, and successful operation, unfortunately, I guess you could say that. But we couldn't have done it without the Sheriff's Office, the Livermore Police Department, Tulare County Sheriff's Office, the Kings County Major Crimes Task Force, which is made up of the Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Hanford PD, Corcoran PD, and the Livermore Police Department. So, you know, in this county, all the law enforcement agencies work very, very well together. And I think you saw that in your city a couple Fridays ago. So the rest of it is there for you. If you have any questions for me real quick, I would be happy to answer them.
Any question for Chief Stivers? No? No questions. Thank you for your report, Chief.
Yeah, thank you. And Tony and Scott will handle the reopening of the park staff reports. I appreciate that.
Yes, we will. Thank
All
you,
right.
Chief. Be
All right,
safe
good night.
out there.
Yeah, good night.
With that, we'll move over to item number 3, which is Avenal Theater and Event Center Activity Report.
You need a mic?
Event Center Coordinator.
All right, honorable mayor, members of the council. It's been a bigger but still kind of a busy month this week, or rather this month. So on the 26th, we had the temperature scanners installed. They're functional right now in the lobby. They're set up for guests, so you don't need a specific QR code to get in. It's just anybody can walk in. They can access it. I know that Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez had the chance to try it out. How was the experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much it was easy. You just stand in front of it and it gives you the temperature.
It's an easy enough experience for anyone to just walk up to the camera itself. It'll scan your temperature. It's all touch free. It's a very convenient. It's very convenient to get your temperature, and it's just to take further steps into ensuring the safety of our staff, community, and the council when entering the theater and other public facilities that are going to have these temperature scanners. At the beginning of the month, we held our last drive-in film for the season, Hocus Pocus, for about 40 people. We helped. It was a pretty successful event because of the time changing things. We were able to get people in and out a little bit earlier, so it was a little more comfortable for both staff and the community, because leaving at around 11 o'clock during the summer season was a little bit cumbersome. Many people were just leaving the film early, but luckily we had a better retention rate this time around. On the second Tuesday of the month, October 13th, we held our our monthly food distribution. Thank you again, Councilman Hernandez, for being a part of that, as well as the one that happened this Tuesday as well. And on October 28th, we had the annual animal clinic, the drive-in setup, like Scott mentioned, and thank you to everybody who was involved as well. We did go over time, but that's okay. It just means that everybody was interested in having their pets vaccinated. I had mine vaccinated as well, so thank you for that as well. First times for everything. On the 15th, we held a public broadcast for to give a virtual tour of the community center to answer questions, answering questions for the community, and showing a virtual tour of the place and the projected project, the space behind the building. That went pretty well. We had a couple of questions go down there. We're really excited to see that. We're excited to see that progress as the rest of the year and as 2021 rolls around. That would be more of a Fernando's subject. I can't really answer too much. I just helped with the camera work. On October 26th, we had the virtual Day of the Family, like Sheila mentioned. I took care of the scheduling of the videos, making sure that they were uploaded per the hour and taken down as soon as the next videos were ready. That way we weren't cluttering. That way the page wasn't cluttered for people who are participating in the live raffles. Right now, like Sheila mentioned, the page is still up and it does act as a central hub for community services that are just immediately available to Avenal. So people aren't having to scrounge around um, looking for resources. Is just a one-stop shop for you to go to, whether whether it be for the police department, for CHP, and for other health services as well. And I'm glad that it's still up. And it is, like Sheila mentioned, it is still getting traction even today. Like I think I mentioned this past Tuesday we had the Rotary food distribution. I mentioned tentative because I wasn't sure if it was still continuing, but that was before I submitted the staff report. But this is all I have for the month. Do we have any questions?
Any question from Humberto? No. Questions? Thank you. Humberto, for your report. Very appreciate it. With that, we're going to special presentation reports. We have none.
Public hearings,
Public hearing.
and then
Mhm.
we'll move on
So
to-
we'll move over to item number 10, which is all business.
Yep.
And we'll consider extending the local emergency declared on March 24, 2020. Discussion and action. Anthony, would you take this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. As has been brought up many times before now, COVID-19 pandemic is still a credible, real threat here in our community. Chief Stivers mentioned it in his public comments that the number of cases kind of have spiked up recently. We're hoping to be that it doesn't spike up any further. But has been brought up before, as a local emergency, asking the council to reaffirm the local emergency. This time it would be for 30 days. We're speaking with the legal counsel, the 21 days and adding 21 days got a little confusing. So per recommendation, we're just gonna start off fresh. So from this council meeting to 30 days, which will happen, they'll get us through to the December 10th meeting. But it won't get us through to the first January regular meeting we would have. So we might need to schedule a special meeting in December or early January for this local emergency declaration. But with this, extending it another 30 days will get us through to the next regular council meeting. And just asking council to consider extending the local emergency due to COVID-19.
Is there any comments or questions regarding that action? If not, do we have a motion to extend?
I'll
the local-
motion.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Carrizales. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Hernandez. Any roll call, please?
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. And it's for 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then
With that, we'll go into item number C, to consideration to open city.
D, sorry. Yeah, the next local emergency.
Yeah, it's just for the water. Esa es otra.
For the water.
Number D.
B, yes.
So we'll go to item 10D. CARES Act is when we consider allocating of CARES Act funding.
No, I think it's
We still have
el 10. Que sí, sí, lo
10B.
pongo for the water.
Yeah, we're on 10B, yeah, to consider extending local emergency declared on November 5th, 2020. Discussion and action.
Yes, this is following up on last week's emergency declaration on our local water shortage or allocation shortage. Same as the previous item, extending it for 30 days to get us through to the next council meeting. And I'm also adding for the record, as you see before you, it is a report or schedule of our actual water usage. So we haven't we got this earlier in the week, so that's why I was not able to include it for the council packet. But for the month of October, we used 228 acre feet, leaving us with 374 acre feet through the rest of this year in January and February. So at this rate, we'll definitely at least get through November and hopefully December. That's just an update to include here. Again, just further stressing the need for more water and this emergency.
And we still haven't had any news regarding more water allocations.
Not at this point. I know between Melissa and I, we've reached out to USBR and have not gotten an update regarding our request for additional allotment.
Okay. So do we have any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to extend the local emergency declare on November 5th, 2020 for 30 days, 30 more days?
So we'll definitely have enough water to get through till January, right?
Hopefully with speaking with our utility supervisor, Ronald Brumley, we feel especially now that it's rained a little bit, people will hopefully start using less water. And the weather has changed, so we should hopefully get through the end of December.
And what happens if something happens and in December we don't have enough?
That is a great question. That's what we'll find out. I don't know exactly what will happen. I'm sure USBR will still continue to supply us the water, but there might be an additional fee or there might be some sort of infraction. I'm not sure. I don't think we've ever reached that point, and I hope we don't. But I'm hoping by then we get a resolution or some sort of solution for additional water or an emergency allotment.
So it looks like we're doing okay though, right? At least through
December.
okay.
And I think you did tell me that it was sent on the water bill also, like about
Yes,
the
that we're in
conservation.
tier 3 water conservation rules.
Okay.
Where people should only be watering 2 days a week.
Same thing's happening in Lemoore. If you've gone through Lemoore, they have those, like how we have those signs that say slow down. They have those signs that say conserve water in Lemoore right now.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
I guess it's not just us.
Yeah, it's not just us.
Okay.
So if that makes us feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Also, to kind of answer the question too, that what will happen on the conversation we had with state water board and with the USBR, the state water board will help the city declare an emergency action. So they will actually, they also provide water through the aqueduct, so there will be no disruption in the water flowing through
That's
the
great.
water
That's
plants.
great news.
Conversation we're having.
Good.
Okay. So, do we have a motion?
I will motion.
We have a first by Councilwoman Carrizales.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
A second for Councilmember Hernandez. Can you roll call, please?
Councilmember Carrizales,
I
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. So let it show pass for all, extended for 30 more days. So now we will go into item number C, which is consideration to open city-operated outdoor playgrounds as outlined by the California Department of Public Health on September 28, 2020. We're gonna have discussion, direction, and action.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be taking on this along with Scott Davis, who will fill in any blanks if I miss anything. But this is just bringing back an item that was presented at the last regular council meeting regarding that the California Department of Public Health has issued guidance on how to reopen public parks. I know there were still some concerns from the council regarding how that would look and whether or not that was the best option. Well, we've taken it back to staff and between Public Works, PD, and community activities, discussing kind of what the best course of action for this would be. Considering that the weather has been changing, we don't anticipate seeing a lot of usage. And another side of that coin was that our parks needed some maintenance since we had not been operating or maintaining them throughout COVID. So staff was directed to kind of work on updating up and fixing up anything that needed maintenance. What staff came up with is an opening on the weekends for Rice Park, the neighborhood park, the fitness court, the sports complex, and the skate park on Saturdays and Sundays. Our on-call would be able to open and close them. We would do the sanitation as we're able to. The guidance, as you see here on the report, kind of just outlines, we would ask to limit activity for 30 minutes. We would have signs that explain all of this, ask that people wear masks. We would provide hand sanitizer, and just follow all the guidelines. And of course, with proper signage. Anticipated costs will be minimal. We have been working on cleaning up and getting those parks ready to go. I don't believe they'd be ready for this weekend. But Scott, if you'd like to fill in anything I'm missing.
No, I think you've covered most of it, Tony. They would not be ready for this weekend. The equipment that we needed to order and replace or get repaired, we did receive this week, and we have started on getting that installation taken care of. The cleaning of the facilities, we have pressure washed everything, cleaned up weeds and debris, and make sure that the softball material is at the right depth and things like that. We would, if this is enacted, we would sanitize the playground equipment each day, or twice on Saturday, so to speak, in the mornings when we open and at night when we close, with a chlorine and water solution. And as Tony stated, we would have hand sanitizer in each facility, and make sure that that is full every time that we open the gates.
And just to also add, because I've also discussing with staff, would be that Public Works and community activities would be monitoring as they can the usage and seeing if there need to rise to maybe include additional days on the weekdays, where community activities would also be able to help supplement, opening or closing or sanitation. Our hope is to kind of do this gradually with council's consent, of course. And knowing that our community has been pretty good at following all the guidelines, and whether or not they would want to utilize the parks is yet to be seen. We don't anticipate massive usage. And even so, if people see one or two families already there, they might, wait to use it and not kind of all huddle together.
Will there be any special posters or guidelines for, how many people can be in there at one time?
Yes, all this information that's been outlined here, and the Department of Public Health already has some of that signage, and we would just print it English and Spanish and have it posted there as well.
Did that include the basketball courts? Would that be like a very active game?
I know it was brought up. Scott, did we determine what to do about the basketball courts?
The issue that we thought with the basketball courts is you cannot social distance and play basketball.
Yeah.
If somebody's jumping up to try and dunk the ball or something, somebody's blocking them, they are bumping into each other, and that is a very close, nearly as much contact sport as football. And so at this time, we have decided that we will not open the basketball courts, because we don't feel that the social distancing, the 6 feet, would be extremely hard to enforce.
That's my concern.
Good decision.
Yeah, I remember discussing it, but I let them decide. So
Any other questions regarding this item?
It would just be open Saturday and Sunday, right? Just weekends?
during daylight hours for
Okay.
now, and then if we see that there's more need, or it's not as such a strain as we thought, maybe we will start opening on the weekdays.
Okay.
And of course with supervision as we can. And like I mentioned, the weather has changed, so we might not really see that much usage, but we'd like to start, trying to make things more available alongside with our public facilities, as was mentioned previously, under following all the rules and regulations safely.
Insured stuff and we'll keep a close eye regarding
Mhm.
an increase in
Usage,
COVID-19 cases and everything.
absolutely.
So we can-
Yeah, and to add to that, Mayor and council members, the policy with all of the parks being open even before COVID was dawn till dusk. And that's the hours that we have always run, that when it starts getting dark, on-call goes out and locks everything up. So obviously this time of year, that's a lot earlier in the day, but it is a dawn, a dusk till dawn schedule at all of our parks.
Okay. Well, thank you for the report. We've got, so we're gonna give action, direction, or action.
It's a good question. Action, just to approve our recommendation to open the parks Saturdays and Sunday, which would include Rice Park, neighborhood park, skate park, sports complex, and fitness court.
And there will be, has a pilot testing
Mhm.
guidelines. And then Scott mentioned we won't be ready this weekend, but then we're looking at what will be the date for next weekend?
Well, hopefully next weekend.
Hopefully
Because right now we would only want to do it on the weekend due to staffing.
So can we say it will be open next weekend? Not this weekend, but the following, what will be the date?
Scott, do you think next weekend we can say most, if not all of these sites will be open?
I believe we could have at least both playgrounds at Rice Park, the skate park and the neighborhood park open. Right now, we need to address the softball material at the sports complex. We think that we saved some that we removed from one of the big playground at Rice Park because it is the wood chip softball material. And you can't just use any wood chips. You have to buy the certified material. So we're gonna, if we did stockpile what we took out before we put in the rubberized softball and it's in good enough shape, we may be able to get the sports complex open. But the other ones, hopefully we can get open by this week.
Mhm.
So by recommendation, council recommends to open the city parks, which actually is excluding the sport complex and for the noise, of course.
Yes.
Do we have conscience?
Yeah.
Go ahead and move that.
You want a motion?
Yeah, is there motion?
We have a motion,
I still move.
a motion by Council Member Hernandez. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Council by Councilwoman Carrizales. Can you roll call, please?
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
So the choice of all, pilot program. Thank you. So with that, we're going to the CARES Act is moving to consider allocating the CARES Act funding discussion.
Thank you, honorable mayor and city council members. For probably the fifth or sixth time, we bring back discussion about the CARES Act funding, and I apologize to say that some things have changed over the course of this week. So both this and the next item that I'll be presenting, I'm actually going to ask the council to table consideration of utilizing the remaining $68,819 towards the cost of upgrading the city's financial system software. At this time, staff, this is including Esther, feels we need a little bit more time regarding the upgrade towards OpenGov. We're kind of sorting through a lot of our finances, and since the audit has been started a little bit late, they need to kind of prioritize that and not so much on an upgrade towards the system. We are still in discussions with the vendor OpenGov regarding the cost. You'll see in the next item, I include kind of what the cost breakdown would be. And again, staff and Esther felt maybe that cost was a little too high at this time, considering all the other expenses and considerations with the budget. But that being said, although I'm not asking council to commit the remaining 68,819 towards the upgrade of the financial system, I'd ask you to please table probably use of a majority of those funds. And if council had perhaps another item they would like to consider. I will update, I know at the last discussion we had was regarding assistance towards the community. I did have a lengthy discussion with Jeff Gardner, Director of KCAO, and I provided that flyer for you guys or for council regarding the utility assistance provided by KCO. And as the discussion went, Jeff informed me that they have not really seen a rise in applications. Funding is available. I asked them if it would help if the city committed some funding towards their program. They did not advise so. He said that those who qualify and those who needed help, they've been able to help them, and they've had, at least at this point, enough funding. So what I asked them was if we could maybe push or market this a little bit more so the community was aware. I have seen them be more active on social media and sharing more information about the utility assistance program. We've been sharing it as well on our end, and we have some flyers available at City Hall. So at least regarding that concern, I do not believe there's.
Well, I do have a concern though,
Sure.
because like some of the requirements, one of them is must have a government issued photo ID. And I know we may have some residents that may not have that, and they won't be able to qualify, and they may have a need. So I think then in that case, we should be able to help them too.
Okay.
I also asked about the funeral expenses. Would they, KCO would cover also help with funeral expenses?
I'm not aware if they specifically do, but I'm sure they do find, if not through their resources, they do try to find other resources to kind of help supplement those needs.
Because I believe, like you mentioned, if we're gonna table and may use some of the remaining money, maybe we need to still reach out to our community members who do not meet these requirements from KCO.
Okay. I know. Sure.
Yeah, could some of that money be used for like the turkey distribution?
Yes, that was something that our community activities supervisor Sheila Verdugo had inquired, and I was going to like to present to council. Perhaps we could allocate a portion, $5,000, towards helping with the either the doing our own turkey distribution in case the Operation Gobble, from my understanding, might not have enough funding. They've been having trouble securing funding. They usually distribute 300 turkeys here in Avenal, sometimes more because I know the need is pretty big. And this year I can only imagine it'd be even bigger. And if not through that, or also helping with the food or meal distribution on Thanksgiving that Sheila also mentioned, which I know Sheila helps with the fundraising on that. And she's also said that she's had some trouble getting funding from our usual people. Everyone seems to be tapped out. So that could also be a consideration. And one way that we could directly help out the community in case Operation Gobble is unable to, or maybe we do our own sort of Operation Gobble, make sure to reach out to more of the community and as well as the meals on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, seeing the time frame between today and Thanksgiving, I think we should make a decision tonight. Be able to host the meeting.
If the council so chooses.
If we can, we definitely should, because everyone deserves to have Thanksgiving. So if that KCAO program doesn't reach out to everyone, if it's possible, we should help out our people.
Chile still on
I can ask. Hey, Sheila, are you able to chime in real quick?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah,
So
Sheila,
what was the question?
we're discussing, you know how we talked about perhaps using some of the CARES Act funding to either do our own turkey distribution or also helping with the meal distribution on Thanksgiving. Do you think
Right.
if we were to ask council for maybe up to $5,000, you think we could maybe do something that would help out enough of the community? Or what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And I agree with Lulu. It's really important that we take care of our own community. And it is hard to find the resources. And if we have the resources, we can definitely expand what we do. However you guys want to have that, whatever you want it to look like, we can make it happen.
Just real quickly, Sheila, how's the fundraising situation so far for the meals on Thanksgiving, if you don't mind me asking?
So the meals, I have 2 sponsors, and then I'm waiting on the solar. If they come through and the 2 sponsors with the $500 plus the Baptist church coming up with taking care of the turkeys, I think we'll be I think we're in good shape.
But we haven't heard anything from Supervisor right regarding the Operation Gobble, if they'll have enough funding.
No, I've reached out a couple of times and I've gotten the same answer. So I'm just waiting to see if his last sponsor comes through. And if it does, then I'm hoping then the amount of turkeys that they normally give is going to be the same. But I still will tell you, even after they give away the 400 or whatever turkeys that they give each year, we still have community that continues to reach out and does not get the resource that they are asking for. You know, so there's always a need for more.
Sheila, if we were to do our own turkey distribution, do you believe the community activities department could handle that? Or help
I
facilitate?
believe with the resources that we have with our collaboration with the churches and the different organizations, I think we can. We have a really nice pool of resources as far as community. Our community is pretty amazing.
Just a comment, I think we should maximize the effort and, if we can contribute, be a sponsor to Operation Bubble and save time and resources or combine resources, maybe that'll be the best thing to do, or whatever we can. But I'm making the motion to use $5,000.
Up to,
Up to
I would recommend up to
$5,000.
$5,000 for either our own or supplementing the turkey distribution and or as well as the food distribution or meal distribution on Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving activities. Yeah, up to and whatever we deem that this is where we need to use it most.
Anthony, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so with this being said, and if we're going to do our own turkey giveaway at any point, I'm sorry, I'm really echoing. And if not, can I fix this?
Sorry, Sheila, we could not hear. She might try calling. Hold on. Use your iPhone if you can. It's because she has 2 devices. I don't know.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
We can hear you, Sheila. Sheila.
You're good.
No way she said it.
Sheila, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still getting bounced back. But anyway, what I was saying about the turkeys, Anthony, is the stores that I've went to, I'm having a problem getting turkeys as it is just for the meal. They're not able to order for me. So I would say if we are going to do the turkeys or we want to, we really need to make that decision now, like soon. And that way I can actually go and see if we can get whatever amount of turkeys that we want. I don't know. How many turkeys are you guys talking about? You know what I mean? Because we're going to have to order them, or we're going to have to work with a store to get those turkeys. Because right now there's a shortage, I guess, of turkeys,
Well, we're looking at.
is what I'm being told. That was from Walmart and Save Mart in Hanford.
Well, we're looking to using up to $5,000 from the CARES Act money funding.
And then at staff, we can figure out what.
So, and what we're saying is, we leave it up to staff to decide, make a decision, how we maximize. Because I know Operation Bravo may be getting a huge discount on those turkeys. So that's something that we need to consider.
What if we do chickens too, though? Like, not everyone likes turkey.
I don't. That's
Good
fine.
idea.
Last year, I didn't even use a turkey because I don't really like turkey. So I just bought chickens.
We can, I know, actually, Councilmember Hernandez had brought that up to me as well. So,
And then
yeah.
you could ask them, you want a turkey, you want a chicken?
Well, what was the motion? Was it just turkey?
No, it didn't specify. It was just a motion to. I think we're lost now on.
Yeah, the motion that is on the floor is to use up to $5,000 from the CARES Act to help the community to provide a meal for
During
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving activities.
So, and then that will be up to staff to decide this.
I'll second the motion.
There we go.
Councilman Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Pro Tem Perez Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
So it showed that we did table the remaining balance to be used, but we decided to use out of the $68,000, $829, $19 to be used up to $5,000 to help with the Thanksgiving distribution dinner.
I think that's a good action.
Yeah.
The community will really appreciate.
And if I may also, let's keep into consideration also that we have to decide on this funding by the next council meeting, because we will only have one meeting for December. If we don't decide exactly what we're gonna do with this money, we have to give it back. I know that we're currently trying to figure out, the finances and stuff, and hopefully by, do you think, Anthony, probably by the next council meeting, Esther would be able to give us a.
Yeah, and I was gonna explain more at the next item, which I'm gonna ask you to table either
Okay.
way. But yes, by the next meeting would be our internal deadline to decide what to do with the rest of the funding. And if we deem that an upgrade is still not in the city's best interest due to all these other occurrences, then we'll present some other options and of course follow council's direction on anything else you'd like us to do.
Yeah.
And I will research more on how to assist the community that may not have documentation, or see what that need might be.
If
We
there's
can-
anything like extra, I think we should ask the community who hasn't been able to pay either their PG&E, their water, or their rent, and take care of that for them, because there's a lot of people who haven't been able to work as often as they have been before, so they're behind on certain bills. So if we could just reach out to those people and use the remaining funds to help them, I think that would be the best course of action.
The money has to be not necessarily spent, but allocated, right? By the end of December.
Allocated and actually spent, so we don't have to actually, like, say we want to spend money on upgrading a building, we commit and use the funds, and then the rest of the funding, I mean, it would be spent, but then with the actual product wouldn't have to be done till about March. And I believe our community Development Director has something to say. Fernando, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to jump in here really quick and remind the council that we do have an application pending with the state for additional COVID relief through the CDBG COVID NOFA that we applied for. And we applied for a maximum of $87,000, which the council voted to use towards paying for utility payments for our residents. And I was on a call with the state earlier this week regarding those applications. They're going to require our local jurisdictions to be able to make those funds available not just for city utilities, but also for other utilities like gas and electric. So I just wanted to remind the council that those funds are going to be coming our way here pretty soon. So that's another item that we can use to alleviate some of the difficulties that our residents are having with with COVID. Thank you.
And as an update, I got a report this week. We have 444 delinquent accounts, totaling $96,000 to city utilities, which we've slowly been making some inroads with some of the customers by sending them notices, asking them to pay. But as council is well aware, there's no mechanism for us to force them to pay or shut them off.
96,000,
Yes.
Yes.
not 900, not 9,600.
No.
No.
The last time we heard was in the 80s, high 80s. So
Yes.
it's-
Wow.
It's climbing.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
Do
Which
we offer-
unfortunately we can't use CARES Act to
Mm.
have them pay us back. So yeah.
do we offer like payment plans?
Yes,
assistance?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we try working with every customer, and the girls, as they find time, try calling and working with the customers. And some of them know that we can't really do anything, so I believe that probably plays into it.
Mm, okay.
But we're trying to work with them.
Okay. Well, thanks, Fernando, for that update. Hopefully we will get that funding well needed.
Okay.
That was the chapter.
Are we doing anything for Christmas for the children?
Yeah, there's gonna be. We usually do a parade, and I know Community Activities Department is looking to do a modified parade where kind of all the floats would kind of be standing still, and then cars would kind of be the parade going through them. That's not been finalized yet, though.
That would be another great way to spend some of that, some of those funds to make sure, because a lot of parents aren't going to be able to buy their children any Christmas gifts.
Absolutely. There's still items we can consider. I just wish it was more money because there are a lot of great ideas and ways we can help the community, and it's prioritizing what can help us in the long run and the community.
Yeah, and of course, let's make sure that they're in line with the guidelines also, because there's restrictions on what we can and cannot use. I mean, I've been inclined to put on the community too, but we need to make sure also that we meet the guidelines on these funds.
So with that, we'll go into item 11, which is new business. 11A is to consider quotes for financial accounting system upgrade. So Anthony, would you take this item too?
Thank you again, Mayor and council members. As I have alluded to previously already, and I will present this and then ask instead to change the recommendation from taking an action to tabling the item. But as the council is aware that we do have an aging software for our finances that will be seeing end of life at the end of 2021 or 2022. And it's been kind of a struggle to get information out of it. Now that we have Esther Strong helping us as a consultant, she's able to navigate through the software and kind of pull information out of it. As we've been discussing an upgrade towards OpenGov, I do have it on the right one. Apologies. As we were discussing an upgrade to OpenGov, and we've been meeting with them, we with speaking with Esther and just kind of seeing where we're at with all the finances and also dealing with the audit at this time, we don't feel it's in the city's best interest to sign up on a new finance system right now. The COVID funding would help pay for what would have been 68,000, now probably 62, 63,000 of the upgrade costs, which ends up totaling 160,000. So coming up with the remainder of the funds would be probably be asked from the general fund. And because we're still putting everything back in order, we don't feel that's the best option right now. The annual fee is a little high. It's a little higher than what we're currently paying for the software, but this would include some other utilities such as our HR and payroll, which we pay separately outside of um, the current software. But again, that upgrade cost, 160,000, is still a little hard for the city to swallow, and I can, in the city's best interest, ask you to approve that yet. Once we have a better idea, I'm hoping by next month at the next council meeting, we can better advise whether or not this is the best course of action to take now, or it might have to wait till next year under a new budget. Just adding to that as well, I did let OpenGov know about this. They're willing and happy to present at this council meeting, but I asked them to still wait. What they've offered to do for us is to kind of go back to the drawing board and see how they can help save us some more money and maybe make the transition more attractive. They were originally offering to do a 1-year transition, which is what this sort of process usually takes. But they say that they've been working with other municipalities where they've been able to shorten it to 4 to 6 months, really streamlining what we need to get upgraded right away, and kind of helping lessen the blow of the upgrade costs. Once they present those options, and if we feel that it's the right direction to go, we'll present it at the next council meeting. But at this time, long story short, I asked the council to please table this item.
Any questions regarding that item? If not, do we have a motion to table this item?
I'll motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Carrizales. Do we
I'll
have a
second.
Second by Councilmember Hernandez.
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. So let it show we table item 11A.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to 11B, which is to consider acceptance of permanent and temporary construction easements for 18-inch water transmission line project, and a discussion and direction and action. So Fernando will take this item.
Yes.
Go ahead, Fernando.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This item, as I've been keeping you up to date, we are inching closer to breaking ground on the replacement of the 18-inch water line. And one of the most, I guess, time-consuming parts of the project has been acquiring the easements, the additional temporary construction easements that are going to be required to perform the construction of the new line. And we were working with Spectrum Land Services, who is our right-of-way agent over the last year and a half, to be able to acquire these easements. And COVID has made this a little bit more difficult. Some of our property owners are more elderly or advanced in age and have been reluctant to meet, to sign and notarize documents, etc. But we finally were able to get most of the easements that we requested, in particular, a almost 3/4 of an acre easement on 2 parcels that we didn't have before in terms of a permanent easement, which was the most important. But we also have about 22 acres of temporary construction easement that we requested. Spectrum was successful in securing about 22.06 acres for the temporary construction easement, and the remainder of that, what wasn't obtained was due to the fact that one of the parcels is owned by 4 different oil company entities, That would be CRC, California Resources, Era Energy, and then we have Union Oil of California and Conoco Inc. And two of those, Union Oil and Conoco, their stake is so small in the property that it wasn't worth their time to really process our request. And right at this point, it's a very low risk thing for us to be able to go on that parcel, because the other two owners did offer the easement at no cost to us. And so we have attached to the staff report are the different easement documents that have been signed by the different property owners. I would like to sort of explain what the cost is going to be associated with each. For the permanent easement from the Marchini family, we're looking at a cost of close to $2,000 in the amount of $1,972 for the permanent grant of easement. And then for the temporary construction easements, we have a total cost of about $10,569 for about six or seven different other parcels. And I would like to point out that CRC is not charging us for the temporary construction easement on their parcels. They agreed to waive the cost on those particular parcels that they own. But we are at this time hoping that council would consider these, accept the easements, so that we can go ahead and record them to make them official. We are working with the city attorney and the property owners to try to get some of these notarized so that we can go ahead and record them. The last thing that we need for the funding agreement, which will allow us to start going to bid and eventually to break ground, is the signed agreement, and then the letter from the city attorney, general opinion letter as the state's required for us to submit in order to be able to finalize that agreement. So this will be a step in that direction. And if there are any questions on this item, I would be happy to answer them.
One thing I would add to that, thank you, Fernando. One thing I would add to that is Fernando mentioned, and please feel free to jump in and correct me. He mentioned that it's low risk on the small portion of temporary construction easements that they have not yet secured. I'm willing to sign the opinion letter, but you have to be aware that there is a risk, and so if that comes back, if something ends up coming out of that, I just want you to be aware of that. So if you're okay with that, I mean, I don't have a problem going ahead and proceeding to sign to get that funded.
Thank you, Moses.
I mean, the primary risk is that I guess one of the properties is in bankruptcy, and
No, the CRC. That would be those are the ones we need to get recorded. But the ones that haven't signed on, Fernando, those are the two oil companies, correct?
Yes, Union and Conoco. They have the interest in the property.
and can you summarize the area involved here, and so we can the council can get a idea of the potential exposure?
Yeah, so let me take a look. The parcel we're talking about is 038050008. That's the assessor's parcel number. I don't recall off the top of my head how big of an area that is, but let me see if I can flip through here. It's about a less than so if you take it's about less than a third of an acre that we're talking about, it's really just going to be used for the laying of the pipe. We're not going to use it for staging or anything like that. It's basically just going to be the period of time that it takes to actually install the pipe in that small section of the parcel.
So with that said, because it's temporary area, it's just during the time of the project. And really just the time of the project in that area, not the entire project. So there is exposure there. Is somebody going to complain about you using that? Maybe not. But, so if you're okay with it, let me know. I'll sign the letter. Because it sounds like it may be difficult to, we could hold up the project and the funding. Is that correct, Fernando? For a substantial
Yes,
period? So,
that's correct. That the signed opinion letter is the only thing we need right now to finalize the funding.
And I mean, I'll add on too. I know there is always a risk to these things, especially considering we don't have those, might not have those easements, but I don't believe that the exposure would be that great. I don't know Scott or I know Arthur's pretty familiar with the area, but we've seen how the hills look. That's why these companies really don't have that big of an interest of what activity goes on, and we already, as we have to repair the lines. So this is overlaying where we already have existing pipeline. So
one thing I would add to that is if you have an existing easement there for the permanent easement, there is case law which says you have an implied right to maintain it.
Right.
And so it's not 100%, but it's something we could potentially rely on and argue. So,
But as I recall, the city has, with that easement, 100% easement, always been responding to water leaks and actually being involved in moving equipment and doing a lot of work. And luckily, we haven't had any.
or let me just real quick, Scott, I know you've been muting and unmuting. Scott, have we ever had any issues from these property owners?
No, we have not. And the one thing is the main thing for that construction easement, it's actually to pile the dirt from the trenches that we'll be digging to put the new pipeline in. And we have gone up there to fix water leaks and we have moved dirt everywhere and nobody has ever said a word about it. So yeah, understanding that there is always that risk, but this construction easement is basically through that area that Fernando has pointed to. It's just enough area to pile the dirt from the trench to put the new pipe in, and then the dirt will be put back over the pipe probably before anybody ever sees it.
sounds good.
Just, I'm sorry we didn't bring a map or have some of the aerials of that, but we're all kind of familiar how the hills look like.
So the exposure is very minimal. Right.
But we have to admit there is a risk.
There any questions?
So the only thing I would recommend is is a motion to authorize a resolution and authorize the signing of the general counsel opinion. That one I have. You don't. It's their form, but I have that one.
Okay. So it will be approving to receive A, B, and C. That is that one, correct?
Well, we don't need to add it to this motion, but yeah, I mean to this resolution. But yeah, we don't. This resolution lays out some of the other easements that we do have, the written one.
So it'd be authorizing me to sign on to these easements and of all the parcels and even the ones that we don't technically have yet, if they ever were to come. And be able to get those recorded, notarized and recorded.
Okay, so with that being said, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 2020-58? That's what's explained. That includes the signing and issue the payment of 1,972 to Marchini, and also to accept the attached temporary construction easements to Marchini Legacy Development Properties, California Resources Corporation, and also Era Energy for portions. We have the portion in your parcel numbers, APN numbers on your agenda package.
Does the motion include the signing the general counsel opinion separate from the resolution?
And the motion will also, so the legal attorney will sign the
Okay.
documents.
I will motion.
So we have a motion by Councilman
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Hernandez. Angie, roll call, please.
Councilmember Carrizales,
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. It shows the resolution 2020-58. That's approved by Paul. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fernando. With that, we'll go into 11C, which is to consider authorizing city manager to sign a letter of support for the LEAP Institute proposal entitled Green Workforce Development in Priority Communities. Anthony will take this item.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So last Friday, I was contacted by City of Huron's Mayor Ray Leon, who's also the executive director for the LEAP or Valley LEAP Institute. He reached out regarding if the city would support or write a letter of support for a proposal he is submitting to the state, which is part of the attached first page letter. A high road training partnership program, green workforce development in priority communities in California. Just to summarize it very quickly, it would be using some greenhouse gas reduction funds to do a pilot program in Huron where they would have engaging community members and trying to help them with workforce development. This is all the details they were able to provide. They're still working on the application, but they're looking for members who would kind of serve on an advisory council, which is what this letter is supporting. That would include me being on this council and kind of advising and supervising their activities with the hopes of this pilot program being able to be replicated throughout the rest of the Central Valley, such as Avenal. As it says here, the Community Engagement Council will meet 8 times over the course of 22 months. And as I said, help monitor the progress and advise as needed. I just kind of got thrown on last second. They'd like to have council kind of support it. Just it will in turn help their application. If the application is successful, then this pilot program I would be, or the city would be involved in. But that's all it would be really committing us to. And they included a sample letter they'd like us to sign, and I'll fix it up a little bit to be on our letterhead and sign off on it.
Any questions regarding this item?
On this item, our commitment would be just to serve on the advisory committee, and that would be you?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the way I've understood it. That's all we would be signing on to. And a conversation I had with Mayor Ray Leon, that's what they're asking, just to kind of show that other communities are interested and want to see what the progress for this program would be. That way we could then replicate it in other communities.
Does this commit us to anything, of course, the serving on the advisory committee, but does this commit any kind of funds, any kind of
No.
legalities in there?
No.
No? Okay.
And I will verify that as well. I know there's some ambiguity here saying that we have read the proposal and agreed to our roles as described and primarily specifically agreed to serving on the Community Engagement Council. So I can add a clause ensuring that no funds are being committed from the city.
Okay.
If that would help.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? No. We have a motion to approve city manager to sign and send a letter of support to the LEAP Institute as requested by the LEAP Institute. Was this requested as the city?
No, this
the
was by
city
the
mayor
LEAP,
or has the LEAP Institute?
as
As the
he,
LEAP-
Mayor Ray Leon, but as the LEAP
as the
Institute.
LEAP Institute.
Yes.
He's the director.
Yes.
Okay.
I support move.
So we have a motion by Council Member Hernandez. Do we have a second motion?
I will second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Alex Ramirez. Can you roll call, please?
Councilman Hernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Preciado.
Aye. So it should pass 301 absent. Thank you. With that, we'll move over to item 12, which is correspondence, announcements, and closing comments. So do we have any correspondence?
Not at this time.
Any announcements at this time? Announcement?
None at this time.
Any closing comments by city clerk?
Not at this time.
Not at that time, at this time. Do you have any closing comments by legal counsel?
Just one, I mean, we've just had an election. The election results still need to be certified by the county. Once they are, we are required to have an agenda item for the council to receive the results, declare the results, and declare the persons elected. The way we can have that resolution and all the staff report worked out for you. But the county certifies the results to our city clerk, and then our city clerk certifies them to you. And then you just basically accept them, and then the folks are sworn in. So that's kind of the process we're required actually the law changed a few years ago. We used to be required to do it within like the third Friday after the election, but now we have some flexibility. And but typically it's done in December, so I'm hoping that they have them before the next council meeting.
And just to add on that, I read 2 days ago, yesterday, that the county election offices are technically closed due to COVID exposures. I don't know how that might play into this or not. Just
They believe
FYI.
they have until December 1st to disclose.
To certify,
the results.
right.
And then after that, after they disclose the results, they actually go to Sacramento to be certified and come back to the county. And to the county and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I think they do it electronically, so it's faster now, but we're supposed to do it at our first regular council meeting after they're certified. Or we could do it by special meeting. That's what the statute says. So if we have to do a special meeting for the emergency, we
In
might be able
case
to
we
just
don't have it
cancel
by
some.
then.
So just to give you a heads up, that one will be on there.
Before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Any closing comments by Councilmember Hernandez?
Yeah, we had a couple of distributions this month. We had one at the Catholic Church and we had another one at the Betts Hall. And I just want to congratulate all the people that helped me make them happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, any closing comments?
No comments at this time.
Closing comments by city manager?
I have 3 pages.
3 pages.
Yeah, 2 pages. I'll try to make them as quick as possible. I would like to update the community and the council on a few items. The first one being following up on Veronica Geary's concerns from last week at the special meeting and more recent concerns with recent work facing from the landfill, work facing the corner of Skyline and Hydro. So on her first question about garbage being exposed, I did reach out to George Anderson, the landfill manager. He explained that this is the phase they're currently working on, building up the landfill on the side facing Skyline and Hydro. They're trying to build a wall towards the city, and it has to be layered with soil and waste to make it strong enough. They're going to be facing the city for quite a while. He expects 6 to 8 months in order to reach the height of the rest of the landfill. And I have an update on that right now. And all this will kind of act as a barrier. Once they finish this phase, they're going to be moving to the far end of the landfill, northeast corner, to hopefully be as far enough to help mitigate any concerns of smell, odors, etc. Her other question regarding covering the waste after hours, he does say that that is part of their rules, that they layer it with an odor suppressant, then which kind of becomes a gel, then a soil mix, and they finally tarp the garbage at the end of the day. The update I have this morning, spoke to George, who informed me that tomorrow they will be completing the current work of adding refuge on the site that they're currently working on, that corner of Hydro and Skyline. And then they'll cover it up, tarp it, and then move back to the kind of peak or top of where they were previously working. At the same time, they're going to start building up that wall This is just one of those phases. They have to build it up a little bit, then move back, build it up some more. Next time, I hope to have a map to show you. He promised me he was going to get me a map so I could help show some of this. But they will return back to this site that they're currently on and that might be in 1 to 2 months. So they're really exposed, as he says, vulnerable, where everyone can see. They're going to retreat back tomorrow or after tomorrow, but they will be back in a month or two. There are other questions about the use of water. The water from the misters is mixed with the city's well groundwater, and the substance that they use for the misters is 100% drinkable. It's all natural substances. As I let Veronica know, George actually drank from it. He took a glass of it or a sip of it. I know she then asked if there's any environmental concerns, and he says none that we're aware about because it's all natural. I mean, that's what he said. You could drink it. Dust control on the waste itself. The landfill does have 2 deposit tanks. One that's from runoff that is pumped into I forget what you call it, but a burner, and all that is burned away. And the other one that is odorless that they do use to kind of part of dust control. As far as contaminating the groundwater, there's no concerns. There should be no concerns there because the whole landfill is has a liner under it, kind of like a Tupperware. That's meant to last at least over 100 years. We calculated maybe 170, but it is meant to last several lifetimes. And our water system, obviously, as we all know, comes from the canal and is treated and distributed through closed pipelines. So there's no, at least, immediate concern about our drinking water. And just to summarize some of that, George and Waste Connections are really taking the concern seriously, and they're doing their best to reduce and keep any odors away from residents. Mayor and I have obviously talked to them a few times. There is some odor. When we were up at the work site, there was some odor, but not as potent. And he says that they are actively just trying to suppress and mitigate that smell. And if there are any concerns or smells that we shouldn't be smelling, he wants to be aware so they can work on it immediately. And actually something that should please you that I found out this morning as well, that I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem will enjoy this, is that Waste Connections has secured $70,000 in funding to work on the landscaping along the perimeter of the entrance and towards Hydro. I did ask George about it, and he says it was part of the agreement. And I wasn't sure if someone else had brought it to him, but he said no, that they had been wanting to work on it for a while. They want to bring in some new trees, put in grass, especially once they finalize this lower section on Hydro and Skyline. They want to cover that all with grass as well. So they are trying to follow through with their original plans. So that's that. Second item was next month I do hope to bring to council an amendment to our ordinance regarding the purchases of items greater than $5,000 that require council approval. Be asking the council to consider raising that threshold to 15,000 to be more in line with other jurisdictions. I know, like City of Kalinga, theirs is 20,000. So for us, if we were able to raise that a little bit, it might minimize the number of items we have to continuously bring to council. Another update is we want to let everyone know about the mask order. I know council is somewhat aware of this, that the city had made an order for masks back in May. That's when we received the first shipment of 10,000 masks that we distributed throughout the summer. We've asked for more masks because we have some money tied up with the vendor, but we have not gotten any response. I've reached out over the phone and over WhatsApp because our vendor happens to be in South Korea. With no response, I've actually reached out to my Georgetown college friends because one of them happens to live in South Korea. And I asked him to call, and he found time this week to go visit that site or that address we have, and he says it's empty or abandoned. Not good news, I know. So I do want council to be aware at least, and we're still going to continue reaching out. I know the gentleman or whoever it is reads my WhatsApp messages at least. I think council should know. But in discussing with my friends, my other best friend who still lives in DC is actually studying to become a doctor. Let me know that he's part of a medical brigade that's been helping distribute PPE throughout the country. So he told me if I just send them an email, kind of what we're requesting, they might not be able to give us thousands of masks, but they might be able to send us a shipment of some masks and some gloves and such items. No promises, but I'm gonna send out that email and hopefully they can send us something our way. I'm trying to do my best to find any source of PPE before we have to spend more city money towards it. Obviously, if we determine we need to maybe order more masks or whatever we might need, I'll bring that to council, but I'm doing my best to see if we can find any other sources. Last item, we do have an update regarding the associate planner's position. Talking with staff, discussing the possibility of making it more of an administrative role. So what we're thinking is bringing back what was the assistant planner / secretary, the position Angie actually started off with the city. We hope to finalize those details and post that position next week. And the other item was going to be that the facilities we're allowing use of on a case-by-case basis. But I already kind of explained that one. That's all I have. Thank you.
I know the City of Colinga City Manager requested, asked me to find a way she wants to meet you, our new city manager. And maybe a good opportunity whenever you do that they just receive a trailer full of masks and also hand sanitizer.
Okay.
And they're distributing to the businesses in Colinga. And I don't know if that's a county or is it under a different department. I believe they had that stuff store in Fresno, but it wasn't on a county building. It was like in a different department. So
Okay.
we may qualify for other counties to have access.
Right. Because I know there's definitely help out there. I know some other cities and departments that I've read through, they've been ordering masks. Hope we're able to at least maybe get something donated or sent to us before we have to order more.
Also, really on through the Leap Institute was able to get donations from everyone.
Yes.
So maybe we can also maybe a source to see who we can reach in order to get some. Unfortunately, we lost that trade from South Korea.
Absolutely.
Well, also, I really want to congratulate everybody who, I know even our legal attorney with this transaction of new city manager, new legal counsel, reorganized council. Everybody has been real busy working and still with the daily activities. We have had water leaks, we had activities. We've been trying with this, try to fight COVID-19, but at the same time, try to give the community given the tools that they need to live day by day, and we're still looking at provide more services to them as the pandemic is really kind of a big role in our daily lives. But like also the chief mentioned, 449
Cases.
cases in Avenal. I think that's very significant. And as we read it in the news, it's alarming. It's alarming now that government's looking at maybe going back in tears because this pandemic is not slowing down; it's increasing, and we're looking at both directions. Try to open up so our economics go up, but at the same time, we want to be safe with our community. So I urge people to take their precautions, safety, keep continue with safety, and reach out to the neighbors and the people in need. Be a good neighbor. I'm looking forward for our next meeting in December. And, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Indeed. Thank you, everybody.